Hey everyone, Chris here. Happy International Women's Day. The theme for 2026 is Give to Gain. So I've been reflecting on some of the things that I try to give in the therapy room that I think support women when they're coming into therapy for assessment, whatever we're doing in there. And it's my hope that this video will help other men, other male practitioners think about that a little bit as well. Like, I want to leave the main voice to the many wonderful contributions that I'm sure will spring up for this International Women's Day. And my only hope is that the video supports them rather than replaces them, because the focus of what we need to do is shift the dialogue away from the people in power and into the group themselves. In this case, we're celebrating women, and so it's really their voices we need to amplify. But I don't have any lived experience of being a woman, so what am I thinking about in terms of what I'm doing as a man and how gender affects that? Well, the first thing I've been thinking about is really amplifying that voice that women have. So unfortunately, a lot of the time women will come in and they'll have had negative experiences of male health professionals. A lot of the doctors and other health professionals they'll have encountered may have been quite dismissive. And so we can actually give a revolutionary experience, and it shouldn't be revolutionary, but unfortunately it so often is, if we listen to them, if we believe them, if we take them seriously, and rather than being dismissive, really put a lot of weight on that. That can be a novel experience, and it's really sad that that can be a novel experience, but really important for us to do that. The second thing is I really work from a place of collaborative diagnosis. So some clinicians may think that they're the only expert that matters, but I always see my client as the expert in themselves. And that's really important, I find, especially a lot of the neurodivergence assessments I do. Often women clients are coming in saying, a doctor told me I had bipolar, a doctor told me I had borderline personality disorder. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's a fit for me. And what's striking is that almost never happens when men come in. When men come in, they don't seem to have these labels. When women come in, they often do have these labels, and they often don't feel that it fits, but that the health professional that gave them that label didn't listen to them. So I always take what a client tells me very seriously, and we work together to find out what's the best fit for that experience. And it's really that collaborative approach, again, giving them a voice, amplifying their voice in a way that's been dismissed previously. The third thing I find it really helpful to do is to call out unacceptable behaviour when it forms part of the narrative. So again, unfortunately, many of us will know the really awful stats on sexual assault of women. They are colossal, and we probably don't often appreciate that as men because it doesn't affect us to anywhere near the same degree. But a lot of this behaviour, whether the law recognises it as sexual assault, is often creepy, it can make women feel uncomfortable, and all of that we can do really well to call out in the therapy room. So I tend to try and as much as possible put the kind of icky feelings I might be having about a story, about something that someone has done, into words. If we think about the core conditions, so offering empathy and positive regard, none of that is really worth anything unless the client perceives our empathy and perceives our positive regard. So if the client is telling me something about, a man has acted really creepy towards them, I will make a point of explicitly communicating that I think that behaviour was disgusting and unacceptable. And it really helps challenge the social narrative that maybe some of this kind of creepy behaviour is just men being men, or it's acceptable, or that women should just tolerate it, when in fact it has such a significant impact on their well-being. So the fourth thing I was thinking about was bringing awareness of gender in the outside world. So we live in a world where women can often be socialized to minimize their distress and focus on others, and that can really be a barrier in the therapy room. So a client comes in and tells me they're really struggling, they need to ask for support, they need the ability to express emotion, but they're not allowed to do that either by their own rules or social conventions, because they'll say things like, well, I really need to be there to support my children, and I need to be strong for my children, and I'm not allowed to have any of my needs. Those need to be suppressed down so I can be there. Now that sounds quite aspirational as a parent, and as a parent myself, I can somewhat understand that, but I've also seen the damage that it can do if we entirely suppress our own needs. As the adage goes, you can't pour from an empty cup, and we all need to see to our own needs as well as those of those around us. And that, I find, again, it's an issue with all of my clients. Men struggle with this as well, but women especially struggle with it because there is so much socialization around thinking of others and not expressing their own distress, to the point where they might not come to therapy because therapy feels selfish, or we discuss self-care strategies, but doing the self-care strategies feels selfish. And so I really like to challenge that, and the way to challenge that is to bring in that social normative approach of gender, because that explains why they're feeling so selfish in a way that shows it clearly not that they're selfish, it's that society has put these values on them, and that's why they're feeling so overwhelmed. The fifth thing then is the same thing, it's that gendered understanding, but this time it's in the therapy room. So the same dynamics that are happening outside of the therapy room are happening inside as well. And it can be very intimidating to come in, especially, and I'm there, like I'm average height, but for a man that's quite tall. And I'm Dr. Chris, and people come in and it's like, well, I've got a title, I'm this expert that knows all of this stuff, and the same power hierarchies that exist out there in society are probably at play. I mean, they're definitely at play in the therapy room as well. And so what's really useful, I find, is to try and address that balance in the therapy room. So some of the things I do is explicitly going for this collaborative approach and telling my clients that I use this really collaborative approach, and that I want to give them permission to speak up, to interrupt me, to talk over me, not to sit on their hands if they have something really important to share. I make a joke of it and go quite over the top and tell me to F off if I've got it all wrong. And clients never do, but what they do sometimes do when they have that permission is say, well, okay, that's not a fit for my experience, or that's not quite it, or this isn't working for me. Can we make a change to this? It produces a far more productive relationship when we do that. There's also little ways that we can amplify the power of the client in the therapy room. So I generally give the client the choice of where to sit, or give them the seat nearest the door. Often trauma can show up a lot in the therapy room, and so having that quick escape can be a really good way to make clients feel safe. Sometimes though, clients have a preference for, well, they want to be able to see out of the room to see if anyone's seeing in. And it's exploring what would work best for them, what would make them feel safest, and giving them the power to choose. So those are a couple of things that I'm thinking about in terms of how can I empower and amplify my female clients to get the best support they need. I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments.